Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video I'm going to be reviewing my GCSE options. I just thought maybe this video might be helpful for any year 9s choosing their options. I don't know when you choose your options. Year 8 or year 9? I don't even remember. But I just thought this might be helpful to give a review of what I chose and if I enjoyed it, if I thought it was a good choice or not. So if you do enjoy, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe down below and let's get into the video. Okay, so my first option was geography, and honestly I'm so glad I chose this over history. I've seen the history course and honestly there's so many dates to remember. Hell no. I don't think I could deal with that. Personally, I think geography, there's still a lot of content, don't get me wrong, but it's easier to understand. With history, there's a lot of inference, you get given sources, you need to make your own interpretations. But geography is sort of a bit more to the point, like there's a bit more of a set answer. Now personally for me, I like it when there's a set answer, and I don't really fancy learning about the past like however many years. I seriously considered doing history, but I decided on geography because I knew that in year 7 and 8 I hadn't really been that interested in history, I'd found it quite boring, so I thought I'd choose geography. Now, I'm not saying I've had a fun time with geography, I definitely haven't. For me, I find the content not boring, but it's not interesting. But then again, it's like better than history, like I wouldn't want to do history. There are a lot of case studies to learn, but I think it's definitely, when it comes to revision, geography is definitely less stressful compared to history. Because for geography, there might be some case study dates, but apart from that, there's not that much. And a lot of it you can actually figure out yourself, but history is sort of, you know, you have to know it. So honestly, if you found history really interesting in year 7 and 8, I would definitely choose history. But if you haven't found it that interesting, you're not finding that you're enjoying it, then I would definitely choose geography. I think it's a lot easier when it comes to revision, it's just an easier subject overall, less stressful. But yeah, obviously if you enjoy history then go for it, but I'm very glad I chose geography. I am by no means saying that I enjoy geography, it's definitely not one of my favourite subjects, but when I compare it to if I would have done history, I'm definitely glad I chose geography. Even though I didn't like all of the geography course, there were some bits that I found quite interesting. I feel like if you're not enthusiastic about history, then do geography, because if you're not really into the history, you won't want to revise it. And it's a lot of facts to remember, a lot of inference, a lot of research. My second option was Spanish. We could choose between two languages, French and Spanish. In our school we studied French from year 7 and we started Spanish in year 8. So we were obviously a bit behind on Spanish, but I found that in year 8 I really enjoyed Spanish. I really liked the sound of it, I was like getting the hang of the grammar, I just found it quite interesting. Whereas in French I would really struggle. I'd find the grammar really difficult, I didn't like the way it sounded, I had struggled with French a lot. Personally for me, in year 8 I had a really nice Spanish teacher, she was literally one of the nicest teachers in the school. When I saw Spanish on my timetable I was like, you know, yes, this is gonna be a good lesson. Wow, I sound like such a nerd. But genuinely, I did not get on with French, I never got on with it, and when I started learning Spanish I just thought I really like this, like I'm really enjoying this language, I'm getting the hang of it. I was getting, not good, but like I was decent at it, but French I could literally do nothing. I couldn't form a sentence. So I would definitely recommend choosing at least a language for your GCSEs because they're very good to have. They look very good on your CV, etc. And at A level they're especially good. But you definitely want to have one at GCSE. Our school only gave us 3 options. I know a lot of schools give 4 or 5, which is crazy. Yeah, so with languages, if you study 2 or more in your school, you definitely got to go with the one that you enjoy the most, the one that you can see yourself enjoying at GCSE. You don't want to choose one that you're sort of not getting on with, you don't like the sound of it, you can't see yourself using it. Because I know languages are sort of a thing where some people are just really good, they get it straight away, and then other people just don't get the hang of it. And that was literally me with French. So honestly with languages, just please choose one. Please choose one for your options because they're so good to have. You really just have to go with the one that you're enjoying most at the time, and it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it for. Like, obviously because we started French in year 7, a lot of people did it in primary school. I did it in primary school. Most of our year chose French, but I still didn't like it. And even though we'd been doing Spanish only for a year when we chose our options compared to 2 years of French, I just knew that I'd get on with it more, and I'm actually very glad I did that because I really enjoyed it at GCSE. My last option was business studies. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, this subject got a little bit boring at times, I'm going to be honest. But having said that, there are definitely aspects of it that are very, very interesting, and I think it's a very good one to have, especially if you want to start your own business. It's a great way to start off. So you sort of learn about the different companies, finance, marketing, how companies operate, and it's just quite interesting really. And also a lot of our subjects might not necessarily relate too much to the real world, like, you know, how you never use certain maths formulas in the real life and you're never going to use like Pride and Prejudice and stuff in real life. But I found that business studies was sort of a very, very real world sort of thing to study. It was very interesting to see, and you could literally relate it back to a lot of things that you know, a lot of companies that you know, and you find out a lot of interesting things. It's quite a hefty course. I'd say there's quite a lot to know. Once you sort of get the hang of answering the questions, it's not too difficult content. You can sort of link everything together. I'm not gonna lie, I found it a bit boring when it got to sort of near our exam, so near the end of year 11, because our teacher wasn't, you know, it wasn't the best, so it wasn't as engaging. But in year 10 we'd had a really, really enthusiastic teacher who taught us all the details and like really went into depth with it, and it was really, really interesting. So I'd definitely say that business is a great option to choose. It's very real world orientated, and you'll probably learn a lot of things that you never knew before that will actually be very useful to you. I also wouldn't say that the exams are too hard. It's not like science where you have like a set answer. It's sort of about linking things together that you've learned across the course. There are aspects of it in the finance section that can be quite difficult. It can be quite maths orientated, but it's a very good GCSE to do if you want to do sort of economics, maths at A level. And obviously if you're considering being an entrepreneur in the future, then it's a great GCSE to have. And it leads you on, it has a lot of links to economics, which is a really good A level. So obviously at my school we only got given 3 options, which is kind of a bummer because we have to do RS, it's compulsory. But if I had a 4th option, I probably would have chosen in either history or graphics. Now, I can't see myself doing history and geography. I feel like that's too much, so I'm glad we didn't get 4 options. But if I did have a 4th option, I probably would have done history too, because even though like I wasn't that interested in it, there are aspects of it that are sort of interesting to me, and it's a very good one to have. And you actually find that a lot of people go on to do history at A level, but obviously I can't really do that now because I didn't do a GCSE. But it's a very good one to have for sort of like law, stuff like that. It's very good to have that basis. And then the other option I would have chosen is graphics. Now, I'm so glad I didn't choose this because my friends have had such ordeal with graphics, it's crazy. So it's something like, I don't know the percentage, but there's a chunk of it that's coursework. And I've never done a piece of coursework in my life. None of my subjects had coursework. Just coursework is not a thing for me. My friends, like, there's a lot of coursework, they really struggle to get it done in time, there was strict deadlines. Then there's also the final exam at the end, and they sort of found that they were getting so caught up in the coursework and actually making their products that they didn't have time to actually go over the content for the exam and learn the exam technique. So it sort of just became a mad rush at the end to sort of get the exam technique, and I don't really like that. I like to be prepared, so I'm quite glad I didn't take that. I think that would have been quite stressful. I don't know, if you want to do something creative, if you're creative, then definitely choose it, but it's a lot of work, a lot of coursework. It's quite, I think it can sort of take... Thank you so much for watching this video. As you can see, I'm very sunburnt. I just got back from my sixth form induction day. I was out on the field all day, so please excuse that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.